Okay, everyone, welcome to our Monday night meeting. Last one for the month of November, right before Thanksgiving, which is coming up next week. So glad to see everybody's here tonight. Want to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation, stay and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain Larry Jenkins will deliver the word tonight.
Amen. Before I pray, I'm always interested in the story of Solomon. And Solomon, he didn't pray for riches. He didn't pray for his enemies. He prayed for just wisdom to guide and govern his people. So that's going to be my prayer for our government officials. I'm going to pray that we lead and be guided with the wisdom that not only God gave, but that they have. So, in the name of our Father, we thank you for this board. We thank you for the direction that they're headed. And we ask you, Father, to give them the wisdom and the guidance, oh Father, to lead this great city of Hope Mills, oh Father. We thank you for the officers. We ask you to protect our officers and firefighters and those who work in the city limits, oh Father, the employees, the managers, oh God. We ask you to bless them and keep them shielded from all hurt, harm, and danger. And we pray this prayer in your name. We pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. The first item on the agenda is approval of agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Seeing none opposed, the agenda is approved as presented. Go right into official comments. I'd like to ask those of us that went to Tampa for the National League of Cities that we kind of package up. We went through a lot. If we would package that up and present that to the community at our next December meeting, where we can really go over it, because we absorbed a whole lot in that week. So I would ask each board member to, and Chancellor as well, we'll package it up.
Okay.
So managers reports first.
Thank you, Mayor, board members. Manager's report, the first thing, it's the most important, is on Wednesday, we are finally here. It is the ribbon cutting for our beloved Heritage Park. Everyone is invited, 4 p.m. The official address for Heritage Park is 5445 Lakeview Road. Light refreshments will be served, but we'd love for everyone in the community to come out as we break ground on this momentous project that we're doing. November 9th, Hope Mills Prime Move was partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank for another food distribution. I think a lot of times I want people to understand when we talk about homelessness, if you're having a drive-through event and over 500 cars come out, that's your working poor as well. And so I want people to make sure that they do not forget about their neighbors and their friends during this holiday season we're going into as well. The Tau Epsilon Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated partnered with the police department to do a teen talk at the public library. I think that was very powerful. Hope Mills Police Department participated in the chili cook-off by the Hope Mills Chambers. I don't know if they won, but they participated. Letters from Santa still going on. Parade of Lights is set for December 7th. The Artist Village is having their holiday market on Trade, December 6th at 5 from 5 to 10, December 7th from 10 a.m. to 4. On the second page of the manager's report, routinely lists the current projects that we're doing. Third page, we actually have a very some new energy in code enforcement. And I have to give kudos to Chris Day, our town planner. He's doing an amazing job. And the third page gives you a before and after success story. It's some amazing things to do in code enforcement. We'll get to that later as well. Again, the last page includes the updates from DOT projects, and that does include the manager's report for this meeting.
Thank you, Chancellor. We'll go into board member comments. I'll start it off with Commissioner Marley.
Thank you, Mayor. I really have a whole lot. I just want to thank the VFW and any other organizations that were involved in the Veterans Day ceremony. As always, it was well attended. Always enjoy those ceremonies and remembrance and recognition. And that's really all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Swallow.
It's good to see everyone here. I forgot to press my button. It's good to see everyone here.
Thank you. Commissioner Legg.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I got my button on now. Thank you to everyone who is here this evening. It's good to be back up here. After the accident, I had to take a little time off and get my ducks in a row. It included replacing my truck. Congratulations to everyone who's in line for a promotion tonight. I'm glad to see you earn that instead of giving it to you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Legg. Commissioner Prager.
I just want to say thank you to the Hope Mills Fire Department and the Police Department for going to all the house fires that we've been having over behind C. Wayne Collier. I understand the one last night was really bad. People said you could see the flames all the way up down Rockfish Road. Then I understand there's another one that was there tonight on Rustic Ridge. And thank y'all for going there and risking your life for that, and that nobody was hurt.
All right, thank you. I want to thank Chaplain Larry Jenkins for the words of wisdom tonight. Let me repeat that. I want to thank Chaplain Larry Jenkins for the words of wisdom tonight. Veterans Day ceremony in the park was attended very well. Thank everybody for coming and for contributing to the success of recognizing Veterans Day. On Saturday, some of us attended the funeral of former Commissioner Eddie Maynard, who served on this board for many, many years as a commissioner. And his funeral was well attended, and it is still being talked about today about the amount of people that he touched in the Hope Mills community and the amount of people that he touched with his barber scissors. There are people that on campus that have been going to him for 40, 45 years, and he's been cutting hair for over 50 years. And you know, that's a testament. He was a passionate, caring person in our community who truly, truly enjoyed and loved Hope Mills. He really was. I was going to ask him if he would like to have served on our newly formed Economic Development Committee, but I didn't get the chance to do that. So I kind of just wanted to share a little bit about Eddie Maynard. And the service was just phenomenal. When you see that kind of that amount of people that came, it was really something. On short notice too, as it was. Some of us this week, I'm just going to briefly touch on it. Some of us this week had the opportunity to go to the National League of Cities, which is a national conference. It was in Tampa. And it's the first one that I've attended. And it was very, very educational. I had 3 goals, and I'll share them and then probably park it. I had 3 goals for me. One of them was to go learn something. Number 2 was to network. And my favorite was number 3. I went down there begging for money. I did. I did. Mayor Pro Tem, Dr. McRae will tell you that. Commissioner Scarola will tell you that. Chancellor will tell you that. Emily will tell you that, and so will Marco. Went down there begging for money. But I'm going to tell you my takeaway was this. I wasn't by myself. Just about every city that sent somebody down there, they were begging for money too. So we're going to put together a good brief for our community at our our first meeting in December to kind of highlight some of the things that we learned and the takeaways from going to a conference like this, where over 5,000 people from 4,000 across the United States attended this thing. And it was really, really something. So I'm going to move on to our presentation. Oh, wait a minute. I left out. For some reason, I didn't come back to Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McRae.
And I don't have anything to say. Thank you all for being here. Mayor Bear Flowers has already touched on the great things that we learned at the National League of Cities, and this will be my last in-person meeting for a while. I'll probably miss all of the holiday festivities, but I don't want you all to think that I'm just missing them on purpose. I'm having surgery in the morning, but happy holidays to you all. But I will be calling into the meetings in the month of December. But everyone have a happy early holiday.
Thank you very much. All right, presentations next. I guess this is Chief. You got this? You need me to come down and read them? Or are you going to read them?
Read them if you want to.
So, the first one we want to recognize tonight will be, Captain Sean Thompson. He's got 19 years in this fire department. He just got recently promoted to the position of captain.
All right. They come on up. Bring them up here. Bring them on up here. If anybody needs to take pictures, you can come up here and take the pictures too. Because as we say in the Army, when a soldier gets promoted, the family gets promoted. And that's the same thing in anything that we do. So we're not easy. Certificate of promotion, this certificate is proudly presented to Sean Thompson, given this 3rd day of November 2024. This certificate is a recognition of your outstanding performance and dedication. You are hereby promoted to the position of captain. And it's signed Matthew King, Fire Chief, and it's signed Chancellor McLaughlin, County Manager. There you go. Wait a minute, one more. Chief's got to come in here. Chief's got to get in here.
Next up is going to be Christopher Hart. He just recently promoted to lieutenant, and he's got 7 years with Havenwood Fire Department.
Come on. certificate of promotion, this certificate is proudly presented to Christopher Hart, given this third day of November 2024. This certificate is a recognition of your outstanding performance and dedication. You are hereby promoted to the position of lieutenant. Signed by Anthony King, Fire Chief, Nancy McLaughlin, County Manager. Got it?
And last but not least is, Doug Pierce. Just recently promoted to lieutenant as well, and he has 5.5 years with the town of Hood Mills.
19 years, 7 years, 5.5 years. That's a lot of experience. So you have to be a family?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's a lot of years of experience. All right, everybody good?
Yeah.
All right. Certificate of promotion. This certificate is proudly presented to Douglas Pierce, given the third day of November 2024. This certificate is a recognition of your outstanding performance and dedication, and are hereby promoted to the position of lieutenant. Signed, Anthony King, Fire Chief, Chancellor McLaughlin, County Manager. Everybody got it? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Now, there's a wall, empty wall over there in that fire department that should be collecting all these pictures of promotions. Right, Chief?
Should be.
Pictures tell a story, and they're always something to look back on. Okay, next, couple public hearings. We'll kick off with the first one. Emily's coming up. A 2024-08, county parcel 040587 807 4000 and containing 10.6 acres, more or less. Duly recorded in the plat book 08275, page 0900. Being all of lots numbers 1 and 2 plat for a plat entry boundary and combination survey for Albert E. Norton of the W.T. Moore Tracts said plat, being duly recorded in Book of Plats 125, page 116, Cumberland County, North Carolina Registry, and being a combination of the property conveyed in deeds recorded in books 2803, page 231, book 5140, page 700, book 6035, page 194, and book 2807, page 829, less that partial conveyed in deed book 2888, page 525, Cumberland County, North Carolina Registry. This is a contiguous annexation under tab number 2. Got it all out in.
Thank you. Tonight, we have a request for annexation to the town, and the request includes to initially zone it to R6A residential and CP planned commercial district. Town of Hope Mills voted to accept a petition for annexation on October 7th, submitted by Mr. George Rose on behalf of Old Bluff LLC. Subject property is adjacent to the American Flag Storage, Circle K gas station, as well as several other residential properties inside the county. Across the street from Cumberland Towers, also inside the county, and other commercial properties that are inside the town limits. Access to the property will most likely be from Appleberry Lane. Board of Commissioners approved resolution R2024-019 on October 21st, 2024, fixing the public hearing to today's meeting, November 18th. Staff is requesting authorization to proceed with initially zoning the property under R6A residential and CP planned commercial. Here is the location of the property. As you can see, just south of it is Cumberland Road, and Appleberry is right off of Cumberland Road. And you can see where Circle K is and Redmond Storage. Those are both within the town limits. Everything else surrounding it is in the county. That sheet explains also, all of the blue in that picture is in the town limits. All the yellow is in the county. And the request for initial zoning, I included the plat in this to help explain it a little better. Let me see if I can. Okay, so the southern area here, they're requesting to be commercial, and which works well because it is adjacent directly to commercial properties over here. The northern section is what they're requesting to be in residential, and it also, again, backs up to some residential properties, and is also across the street from residential properties. So I offer for you guys to open the floor for questions.
Board have any questions before we open the public hearing?
Motion to go to public hearing.
Okay, motion second, all in favor? Seeing none opposed? Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposed A2024-08 annexation? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposed A2024-08 annexation? Is there anyone here that would like to speak against the proposed annexation of A2024-08?
Motion to close public hearing.
Motion second. All in favor? Public hearing is closed. If
Now,
the,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve annexation A2024-08 and authorize staff to begin the initial zoning process to designate the property as both R6A residential and CP planned commercial districts.
we have a motion, we have a second. Yep. Last time, any discussion? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Item B. ZNG-010-24 text amendment to the Town of Hope Mills zoning ordinance to amend regulations related to the historic overlay district submitted by the Town of Hope Mills. This proposed amendment also contemplates the reinstatement of the Hope Mills Preservation Commission, Cap 3. Emily, it's yours.
So recently, the board directed me to update this document, and I did update it with the new 160D, North Carolina General Statutes. I met with SHPO to go over the document as well, and I took it before the Cumberland County Planning Board last month, and they recommended approval. Now, as I understand it, the Hope Mills Preservation Committee met and had a few requests as well, which I have added in and added a copy to your tables there. Now, the changes are on the first and second page of the document, and I'll go over those quickly. They are highlighted in yellow. So the first request was that the commission wanted to consist of 7 instead of 5 members. They requested also the second change that it be changed to all members shall reside within the corporate limits or within the municipal influence area of the Town of Hope Mills. And the third request change is that the members serve staggered terms. Specifically, one member would serve 1 term, 2 members serve 2 terms, 2-year terms, 2 more members will serve 3-year terms, and then the last 2 members serve 4-year terms. Those are the changes that were requested by the committee to be added.
Thank you, Emily. Before I ask for a motion to open public hearing, Commissioner Marley is the liaison for the HPC. And I want to ask him if he'd like to share some comments from the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. As she said, that they met Wednesday night. They had a meeting Wednesday night, and at the meeting, this was brought up, and basically they asked that those changes be made, and I told them I would bring it to the town for the night's meeting. I gave it to Chancellor, and he was able to get it done. But what she said is what happened. So I'm in agreement with it. That's the way they wanted it to be.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Motion to open the public hearing.
If I may, I have a couple.
I'll ask questions first before I open it up.
One issue is that the statute that authorizes us to create a commission requires that all members reside within the planning and development regulation jurisdiction. So we cannot, go against this statutory authority to create the commission, extending out the available land that members can live in. One other little sort of typo I found here is in section 2-171. We need to leave in the language that says with the exception of, because the purpose of this provision is exempting out the Historic Preservation Commission as well as these other commissions from the sunset provision. They expire within 1 year of the day of passage of the ordinance for report. So I think we need to leave in the with the exception of language, and I think we need to make sure that the members that they do reside within the planning and development regulation jurisdiction.
Okay, so we've got 1 strikeout and then 1 modification. Right, Dan?
Yes.
Now, my question would be, and this would either go to Emily or Chancellor, with these 2 changes, would this document have to go back to the Cumberland County Joint Planning Board and get approved with these changes, or can we approve them?
I think this minor amount of changes would not require you to go back. I did talk to the chair of the HBC, Mrs. Reeves, about the thought process in the extension of the MIA. It's similar to what they were trying to do with prime movers, where to get more people that would be willing to serve, they extended the actual bylaws to allow people in the municipal influence area. That was the thought process. I guess Dan is pointing out that because the commission is bound by a general statute, it may be difficult to do that. The portion where on the front page where it just says with the exception of the, I think that's something.
I would consider that a very minor change.
Yeah, those are not major changes.
I might also add, the first section 2-171 is part of the zoning code. That is not actually part of our zoning ordinance. So if they wanted to change that, they can change that without having to take it before the planning board.
I do have a question. Do we know if there are any current members that are that live in the MIA right now?
Yes.
But right now it's a committee, not a commission.
Yeah, but
We can't
if it turns into a commission tonight, I just wanted to know, are they gonna lose?
And that's the challenge. I mean, Roy's one of the members who's definitely committed to actually coming and serving and things of that nature. So I understand why the request was being made. I think Dan is just pointing out the general statute portion. That makes sense.
Let me ask this question then. Dan, is residence a requirement, or would the person that owns a business in Hope Mills, would that fulfill that residency?
It says shall reside.
And then I'll ask this follow-up question. Is it possible to be interpreted that because the MIA is still governed and operated by the town, that could be construed or at least interpreted as still meaning that?
I guess
Or does
the
it have to
question
be?
is the municipal influence area part of something we can regulate development and planning in?
Not unless annexed into the town.
Yeah,
It has to be annexed into the town first.
In
But
that
it is
case,
the town of Hope Mills MIA.
Right. But the language is they shall reside within the planning and development regulation jurisdiction. So to me, that means the area where we can control planning and development.
Yes, but we
Not
also,
prohibition the word.
but we also have oversight over the MIA, and that's why the MIA is established. I mean, not only.
How we regulate
Mills.
development and planning is the question.
Technically, we don't have Tom Lloyd is our consultant that we actually hired. He can come up and speak to that. Come to the room.
Yes, I forgot about, yes, Tom, these are questions.
I didn't plan on everybody next month, that's why I don't have my suit on. The MIA is strictly development. It has nothing to do with zoning. It only deals with development standards. So,
That's planning and development, or just development on
development. Planning is the overall topic of both zoning and subdivision, but it doesn't have anything to do with zoning or overlay districts. It only has to do with subdivision / development standards. That's all. So your subdivision ordinance, which governs group developments, cutting off properties, things like that, the MIA applies to that. That's what the MIA was actually brought up for. The whole purpose of the MIA, and this was when I was planning director, was, for example, sidewalks. If the county didn't require sidewalks on both sides of the street, and the town did, and this happens, for example, in the city of Fayetteville, okay, if you were in the MIA, they would be forced to follow the development standards, meaning sidewalks on both sides of the street for the town, so when it's annexed, you wouldn't have to retrofit. In other words, the town knew that they were going to eventually annex, so the development standards of the town apply to that area, but not zoning. No zoning authority at all, which is falling. No regulatory police power in that respect in the MIA. Strictly subdivision ordinance.
I could do some further research on this, but I would say in the interest of ensuring that any decision made by that commission is something that we can stand by and uphold. I want to make sure we don't extend it without making sure that we can.
Okay.
Let me say one thing. Sharon, didn't we discuss this afternoon and you said 160-D called it something else other than MIA that would cover this? Didn't you and Teresa say that this afternoon?
The language is a little different. It says it's within the municipality's jurisdiction, and that was the change in language.
The MIA was established by the planning department. It was a concept that most people, like the current planning director says, he never heard of. It was established only for development standards, so that when you annex, the things would meet the development standards, sidewalks, streets, things like that. Had nothing to do with any other part of planning other than development. That's all.
Annexation would meet the municipality standards. So if town of Hope Mills required sidewalks, then the development of any parcel in the MIA would have to meet that.
Yes, sir, and it's listed in the subdivision ordinance.
Okay, so
County
we would
subdivision
govern,
ordinance lists these.
so we would govern that part in the development piece.
Well, the county actually governs it, but it's already been approved by you and the county. You all work together. The standards that this town wants included in the MIA, the committee you voted on, and the commissioner voted to give it to you, and every other municipality.
Governance until it's
All right. Okay.
So that means that, I'm sorry, so So that means it has to go back to the original language, is that what you're saying?
It just means that portion that we ultimately amended this to actually say municipal influence area wouldn't legally be able to be added.
So
Maybe what we could do for now, just to, if you want to make sure we're compliant with the statute, is just mirror the statutory language and say all members shall reside within the planning and development regulation jurisdiction. And then, if that's what it says, then I think we're okay. But when we interpret that and put it into effect, we'll just make sure that we're doing it, that only members who live in what, falls under that, umbrella would serve.
Just take out the MIA.
I think just mirror the statutory language would certainly be the way to do it. And you just say that all members shall reside within the planning and development regulation jurisdiction, whatever that may mean. And then we're mirroring the statute. And then
We come up with an interpretation that differs, we still mirror the statute.
that way we can go ahead and put this in place and then, make sure that when we appoint members to this commission, that we can follow the correct definition of that.
Did you have something?
No, I just wanted to know what was the current membership of the, HPC now, is it 5? 6, okay.
Commissioner Squall?
What was that general statute, just so I can write down?
160D 303.
Okay. Commissioner Craven?
I'm taking that this is legal, you know me, I'm a bit picky. Are we not supposed to have the correct names of committees listed here? Like the Community Appearance Commission, there isn't community in front of that, it's.
Are you saying
Appearance
section
Commission.
2-171?
Yeah,
This is word for word from our current muni code.
it's like,
This is word for word from our current muni code.
okay, because the Parks and Recreation is not a commission, it's an advisory board. And I'm not familiar with the Water and Sanitary Sewer Review Committee at all.
I'm not familiar with any of the committees. I just took this directly from our muni code that's on the website. This is our current code. Wording in our current code.
But in our ordinances, at least, it doesn't.
You would have to clear that up and clean it up within Unicode. You wouldn't be adopting that language on the Unicode because that's the existing language that currently exists.
As long as you got in here for corporate minutes.
Yeah, I didn't write any of that.
I didn't, but I looked it up and none of our ordinances call it the Community Appearance Commission or the Parks and Recreation Committee. They were a commission there listed as Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. And I'm just real funny, I'm stiff.
No, I understand what you're
For
saying.
to be right the first time.
This is from the muni code and also from the original document that was used in 2020.
Another thing I like to point out, the process of correcting that is a separate process through Unicode. So we're not adopting this if there are typos or something related to the names not being correct. That's not what you're adopting here with this ordinance. The way that you would go about fixing that or correcting that would be through Unicode through a separate process. So adopting something tonight does not prevent you from being able to clear that up at a later time.
That's the language that's in play now. In a separate process, we can address that and clean that language up, make changes.
I was just changing it in there from committee to commission. Yeah.
What the advisory?
The section 2-171, it had historic preservation committee in there, and I was changing it to commission.
You're saying the Parks and Recreation, what do you say?
No, the section you're talking about, the sunset exception, with all the other committees listed, I was changing the historic preservation committee to commission.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know if it made any difference if we had it, because we could come back and if it says Parks and Recreation Commission, they can say, well, we're a commission, not an advisory board. So. And I have one other question. Was there any changes at all to the overlay?
The district,
No. Okay. That's it.
That's it. Mr. Martin?
Just to clarify before we move on, so the 5 members to 7 members, and then the, wording as the attorney stated, and the staggered terms of the membership terms. Good.
Yep.
So we're getting,
We only have one
That's what you're
strikeout,
adopting tonight.
one strikeout, one, modification. Other than those two, the rest of the document is good. Commissioner Lake, you got anything before we open the public hearing?
motion making the program.
Second, all in favor? Seeing none opposed, public hearing is open. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of ZNG-010-24 text amendment to the Town of Hope Mills zoning ordinance to amend? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of ZNG-010-24 text amendment to the Town of Hope Mills zoning amendment ordinance to amend? Seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against ZNG 0-10-24 text amendment to the Hope Mills, Town of Hope Mills ordinance to amend?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, public hearing is now closed. We have a board action.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the text amendment to the zoning ordinance and town ordinance located in the Unicode as presented.
Second.
With the modification.
Yes, that's what I said, with the attorney's recommendation.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve the text amendment as presented with 2 modifications. Without any further discussion, all in favor? Seeing none opposed, the motion carries.
Let's give them. It's been going on for a long time.
We have a commission. Any gentlemen? Next item is number 5, public comments. Ashley? No one wants to speak tonight?
No, you
All right. It's not too late. Still sign up. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, which is the consent agenda.
Go for the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? And none opposed. All items on consent agenda is approved. We move on to item number 7, discussion. Item A, agreement with Cumberland County for animal control services. There are no attachments.
Mayor, I'll speak to that. I asked, the town manager to put this on the agenda for discussion. I had asked him to, review any agreements or any contracts or agreements that we have for services with animal control. And the reason for it is, I'll give everybody a little backstory. I run into a situation myself, early one morning. And it was an act of Congress to get animal control from Cumberland County to do anything. I came home, there was a stray dog in my yard, nice dog, gentle. I called animal control. This was at like 7 o'clock in the morning. So I realized that the town has animal control officers on duty pretty much 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. And I understood that animal control services, we had an agreement or contract with Cumberland County for after hours and weekends. So when I called 911, I called animal control, couldn't get no answer. So I called 911, spoke to the lady on the phone, told them what my situation was. I needed animal control, and they told me that they opened up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd have to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, what kind of service are we getting from that? Luckily, Luckily, our police chief was gracious enough that he accepted my phone call at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I inquired about our animal patrol officer, because Paul's usually out early in the morning. I pass him in my neighborhood, walking my dog in the morning. Paul was out sick. Didn't realize that he was out sick, so it was just a complicated thing. But the police chief was nice enough to call one of his officers and have one of his officers come to my house immediately and pick the animal up and bring the animal up here to the holding pens that we have in our new building up here, which came in handy. But if it had been for the police chief and our police department, I was going to have to sit there with this animal and be late for work, because we could not get no service from Cumberland County Animal Control. It's not the only time that I've ran into a situation. I've run into situations on, before, where you call them in the middle of the night, can't get nobody. They have people there 24 hours a day. They have people on call 24 hours. They work 24-hour shifts. So my question is, and I should know this as a commissioner, but I didn't know if we were paying for those services or if it was just a gentleman's agreement. So that's why I asked Chancellor to dive into it and take a look at it, because if we are paying for an agreement or a service to Cumberland County Animal Patrol, we're not getting our money for it. We're not getting any service. If I got to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning, then why do we even have an agreement with them, is my opinion. I don't know if this has happened to any other citizens in the town that's called after hours at night, in the middle of the night, or on the weekend, or early morning, or late afternoon. But our animal patrol officer and our police department is on the spot, and we just need to address that. So I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Commissioner Marlin. We did have a very extensive conversation over the last week when this did happen. I called Downinger to come up and speak to it as well. We do not have to pay for those services. The way it's currently set up, and Downinger can get to that as well, is our control officer governs Hope Mills from 8 to 5. The county is supposed to kick in after that. This particular day, I did find out that Paul was out of work that day, which is kind of like a perfect storm. That does not absolve anything you're talking about in terms of the level of service that we should have gotten. But I think Downinger can speak a little bit more to it. But there is an agreement we have with the county at no charge for us, but they technically only regulate after hours. We'll do a little bit more research on the level of service that we're providing, but that particular day, I do think if Paul was here, the service would have been a little bit.
Oh, yes, if Paul would have been here, he'd have been right out there, because he's usually right through my neighborhood at 6:30. It's 6:30 in the morning. I pass in every morning in my neighborhood.
Now, the bigger question that we would have to ask the county is, if we only have one officer and he covers from 8 to 5, who is the backup if he's out? Who is the backup at the county? And I think that's what should have probably happened. Just because we have an officer out does not mean that animal control just ceases to become an issue. If they actually have the agreement for them to provide those services, I do think that somebody, and I do think you did express it in who you were. And so I do think that service should have been a little bit more speedy.
But not only me, my concern is that we got citizens out here in the town that are expecting a service, and they're calling and they're getting the same answer I got. I mean, they don't have the luxury like I did, which I probably shouldn't have done. I probably overstepped my bounds, but I called the police chief for that. And, like I say, he was gracious enough to take my phone call at 7 o'clock in the morning. But other citizens really don't have that luxury. And like our conversation, if that's the level of service we're going to get, then I'd be fine in trying to explore options to add personnel for animal control to increase our staffing for animal control, to have those coverages after hours, and on the weekend.
And I will go ahead and put this out there too. There's another layer of this through zoning that we need to have probably a deeper dive with, because when we did set the agreement with the county for their services, it did alter or lessen some of the regulations with zoning.
Yeah, I remember we went through the animal control ordinance,
Yes,
and we had to basically take their ordinance.
yes, and one of the main things with that ordinance that, in my opinion, lessened the level of jurisdiction we have is with chickens. I think you can have up to 10 now on your property. That happened when we moved forward with the counties. Our initial ordinance was a lot stronger. So there is a conversation that we probably may need to have, but that's a deeper dive that will happen.
And I don't wanna hold up the meeting, no more than we have to. I guess my thing is, I'm asking the board to, maybe consider in the future exploring options for this problem. And, you know, I would be interested in doing that if the rest of the board would support.
Understood.
Mayor, I do have a comment. Have we talked to somebody higher up at the county about the situation that happened with Commissioner Marley? I mean, because I'm sure there's probably other cases like that, but I just want to know if we had that conversation with them at a higher level to try to see if we can resolve it, or do you all just think it's just best?
I do think ultimately, and one of the recommendations I would at least ask you guys to make is to allow us to do that deeper dive. Marlon and I talked about it. It never left the town. Basically, I talked to Dondra about it. We talked to Zoning about it. But if you guys want to explore some options, I can do a much deeper dive and bring something back in December that will include conversations with higher ups at the county.
Yeah, because my concern is, and I'm sure the police officers will be called if this ever becomes an issue. It could have been an aggressive dog or an aggressive situation, and we don't have time to do all of those different phone calls. I guess this dog, you said, was a nice, gentle dog, but it could have turned into another situation. So, and we probably have other citizens that had the issue. They probably just have not. I haven't heard about it, but I would like to have a conversation with the county at a deeper level, just in case it's turned into another situation later on, which we hear about cases like this all the time that does go in a negative situation.
There has been another situation. One of the senior citizens had a dog. She was taking it out in the morning, and a big dog next door jumped her fence, came and attacked her dog, and held it down by the throat. She called here. Paul was out sick, and she was instructed to call the county. She called the county. Same thing happened. They told her somebody would be there when they could get there. 3 days later, the man showed up at her house. And here she was sitting, didn't know what to do, if the dog had been vaccinated or what. So it has happened, and it really scared her. But even to that, I don't know why it would take them 3 days later to go and see her.
Yeah. So we can move on. If it's all right with you, can you ask for a consensus of the board to give the,
I was getting ready to do that. I'm just finishing, waiting on the board members to finish their comments. Is the consensus of the board to direct our town manager to have a conversation with the county manager, Clarence Brewer, and come back with some recommendations or an update at our December meeting? Okay, there it is.
thank you, Mr. Chief. Appreciate your service.
Next item is item B, change to annual meeting schedule. Hope Mills Prime Movers, there's no attachments. Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray.
I hope those prime movers are just asking for their meeting to be moved to the first Tuesday of the month instead of the first Thursday of the month, as some of the members have a scheduling conflict on the first Thursday of the month.
Okay, so I don't think we need a motion here. I think maybe a consensus would work.
Yeah, that should be fine, unless it's set, unless their meeting schedule is set in some sort of ordinance.
No, it's not set that way. So consensus of the board would be to approve the recommendation. Okay, all right.
if I may, before we move on, I just want to circle back. I did look at the definitions in 160B, and I'm satisfied that the extraterritorial jurisdiction citizens could serve on the committee because they are within the scope of that definition of the statute.
Just so we understand. So, people can live outside the town limits.
As long as they're in the ETJ, that 1 mile limit. And again, I think the way this definition under 160B works would include that area as
I would,
planning and development regulation jurisdiction. So maybe
I would, muddy that up a little bit. We don't have an ETJ, we have an MIA. My question is, would that extraterritorial jurisdiction definition be the same as what they were trying to accomplish with it?
I believe so. I'll confirm that, but I think it's the same idea. It's the 1 mile.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure people clarify, we don't have an ETJ. The definition they're talking about is the extra jurisdiction outside of the corporate limits, which is what our MIA represents. I think that's what the original language was that the HPC board requested when they sent in the amended language. But Dan and I have been talking since that agenda item, and he does feel that what they're trying to accomplish can be done as long as we make sure that that language from the 160D section is mirrored.
Tom, you got something?
Again, ETJ is only development regulations, only subdivision ordinance. Everything that's allowed this town or any other municipality to do in the ETJ has to be granted by the county commissioners. It's still under county control. So the county is who gives the power of the municipalities. They're the ones that instate the development standards of this town, Stedman, Eastover, of all the towns. It's the commissioners, the county commissioners. It's nothing like extraterritorial jurisdiction at all. It's larger than a mile for one thing. It has nothing to do with it. The staff came up with the ETJ. It has nothing to do with the general statutes. Matter of fact, Cumberland County is the first one that come up with the concept. So anything that goes on and is granted to every municipality in the ETJ, meaning their development standards, is given by Cumberland County. They have the jurisdiction.
Thank you, Tom.
So that, if that is in fact the case, that we don't have jurisdiction to control development or regulation in that area, then that may. Bottom line, I think we're better off mirroring the statute, and we'll work through these issues of what that means.
Sounds like, Dan, we may have an update at our next meeting.
We'll do that.
Okay, that's what I think. That's where we're going. We'll have an update at our next meeting. Okay, moving on to old business item 8A, preparation for text amendments to the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance, and that's under tab 8. Emily returns back to the mic.
Since our last special meeting that we had, there have been a small handful of changes that have been added. Now, one of the things that you wanted us to focus on, well, I'll start at the beginning. I updated and corrected the definition for tobacco store and smoke shop. There was a misprint where I think they were trying to spell it paraphernalia, but it's just PAR. So I added paraphernalia-based electronic cigarettes to the definition, and that is on the first page. Let's see. And then on the second page, what I changed after discussion with Chancellor is it's the section in blue on page 2, and it mentions for open space, including but not limited to any and all infrastructure that is not owned or maintained by the town, including stormwater pond maintenance. And Would you like me to just read the whole paragraph?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is in reference to open space. A property owners association shall be created to maintain the open space and any common areas in development unless an alternative method of maintenance is approved by the Board of Commissioners upon recommendation of the zoning board, such as, for instance, if the open space is conveyed by a perpetual conservation easement to a recognized nonprofit conservancy organization or other nonprofit organization established for ecological and or environmental preservation. Membership in the Property Owners Association shall be mandatory for all property owners in the development. The Property Owners Association shall have the authority and duty to levy assessments, which shall be liens upon and runs with the title to every lot within the development to provide for maintenance of the open space, including but not limited to any and all infrastructure that is not owned or maintained by the town, including stormwater pond maintenance, and any other common areas in the development. The documents creating the Property Owners Association shall provide that they may not be amended except upon a vote of the owners representing at least 3/4 of the lots in the development. The town attorney shall recommend to the designated approval authority within 60 days of submittal to the town attorney. The Property Owners Association documents to include any articles of incorporation, bylaws, and or declaration of restrictive covenants. This approval shall be in place prior to submission for final plat approval.
Let me ask the board, because there's a number of changes that are in this document. So to move this process along, let's look at each change, and then if board members have any questions, you can address them, like the first one on tobacco. Does any board member have anything on tobacco? Any discussion about it? Okay, next one was motor vehicle sales. Any issues with that one? Next one, tobacco store and smoke shops. Nope. Okay. So let's do it this way. We'll go to each section. We'll propose, you read what the change is, and then we'll discuss it and keep going.
Okay.
You don't have to read it all.
Okay. So
Back to smoke shop, 1,000 feet, if you have an issue.
Yeah, it says it shall not be located no closer than 1,000 feet measured from property line to property line to any religious worship activity, school, public or private, elementary or secondary or vocational as listed in section 102A-43. Is 1,000 feet far enough away from these? Is that understanding places?
The 1,000 foot, we had already had in the overlay we did last year, the 1 mile radius from an existing tobacco store. If you recall, the county came to the Mayor's Coalition last year and asked all of the municipalities to adopt 1,000 feet. So we went in addition to the 1 mile radius and added the 1,000 feet, but that's where that came from.
So it's a mile and 1,000 feet.
Yes, it's a mile radius from another store like that, and in addition to that, it can't be more than 1,000 feet from a religious
I just thought it said the mile radius of an existing tobacco store, but I didn't realize that it said and shall be located no closer than 1,000 feet. So I thought maybe the 1 mile was going to be changed to the 1,000 feet.
oh no.
No,
Okay.
that's why there's an and.
Well, I realized that, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Okay. Anything else? Next, open space. Any discussion on open space changes? Emily read the whole paragraph. Nope. All right, pick up from the next one, Emily. Just the changes and see if we have any discussion. If not, we'll move on.
The next page talks about water discharge plan in reference to swimming pools. Yes. So, as mentioned at the special meeting before, we realized that our zoning ordinance did not match with our stormwater ordinance, and this will match it with the stormwater ordinance for draining pools. The next page is in reference to accessory structures. So a good example would be like if you wanted to put a shed or a carport, something separate from your actual home on your property. Looking to add a number 6, number 7. Number 6 is no permanent structures, including fences, permitted to be built within existing easements regardless of the zoning district. And number 7, this kind of goes with the mention earlier of chickens. Chicken coops shall be at least 10 feet from rear and side property lines and only permitted within the side and rear yard of residential property.
Okay. Anybody got any discussion about chicken coops? Okay. Yeah.
The next one is simplifying this one real quick. This is our current landscaping ordinance requirements for commercial properties, and it is the only changes to it is doubling the required landscaping.
Very nice. Very nice. Doubling.
I tried to triple
Yeah. Anytime I see additional landscaping, that is an added value. It really is. Any comments from the board? Good. Emily, move on.
Next one is in reference to tree preservation. So in the past, whenever a developer was to decide they wanted to clear the property for development, they were supposed to go and see our chief building inspector for an inspection. And we got together with stormwater and added in that they need to see the stormwater and floodplain administrator due to the fact that there's washouts and a lot of erosion issues. We had a situation where someone wanted to clear some lots close to the lake, and if they cleared them the wrong way, then they could drain them to the lake. So for this purpose, we wanted to add in that they are supposed to meet with stormwater as well.
Very good. I'll tell you, I'm a guy that does not like clear cutting. Not at all. What happened in Georgetown Estates? Anyway. Any board comments? Moving on. Political signs.
Political signs, this is basically just trying to match the rest of it up to the general statute. The North Carolina General Statute 136-32 states that the signs can be no bigger than 864 square inches, which is 6 square feet. So we're changing it from 32 square feet to 6 square feet, so there's no issues trying to compare the two. Everything else was matched up with it with the last changes. For some reason, this one slipped through the cracks.
You know, wouldn't it be nice to have a community with no political signs? Wouldn't it be nice? But Dan over here, years ago, I brought this up, and Dan said, no, can't do it. When I was sitting over there as commissioner, I brought up the very same thing, and I said, wouldn't it be nice, like a Beach Boys song, if we did, if no political signs at all was in our community? Wouldn't it be nice? But Dan says, no, can't do it. We can't prohibit them.
The Constitution. We cannot regulate signs based on content.
Yeah. Yeah, violation of First Amendment as well. But I thought I would just throw that out there because my position is still unchanged. You know, it would be nice, but if a candidate wants to put up signs, they're more, they can do that, but it would be nice if they did.
Do you like political signs? I said I have a lot to say about that, but I digress.
Oh. I don't know. Anything else? We good? Okay.
Next on page 8, this is on their conformity, and we were adding the reference to the Hope Mills Standards and Specifications Manual and Design Compliance Certification.
Okay, any discussion on conformity? You good? Emily? Oh, got a big one there.
Yeah, the next one was that
Oh, yeah.
slide that I had that was very confusing. I cleaned it up, and hopefully this is a bit more understandable. Would you like me to read it?
Read the change parts.
We are adding in no street shall be accepted for ownership by the town unless such street has been constructed and at the time it is offered for dedication meets the standards set forth by the Town of Hope Mills Standards and Specifications Manual. No street shall be maintained by the town until it is accepted into the town street system. And then we have
This is gonna sound crazy, but you have a developer come in, they put in a street, put pavement down, haven't called for inspection, our people haven't gone out and looked at it, they got pavement on the ground, we're making them take it up.
We have within the ordinance mechanisms, one of the things we're doing is, we have currently what we call a 75%. So let's say they started the streets in a specific neighborhood, those streets didn't meet a certain standard. When they get to 75% completion of the houses in that section, they have to actually petition the town for street acceptance, which allows our public works department to go out and start inspecting those streets. If they get beyond that point, we can start holding zoning permits. So that's the mechanism we have where if you tell the developer he has 18 sets of plans, which I have done, I'm not gonna say the developer's name, but I held all 18 sets of permits, these are $350,000 houses, and the response was, go talk to Don and Bruce. And so what happens is that indirectly gives them that authority to ensure that those streets are actually maintained. Now that we had that before, we're adding language to strengthen that process so that they're not even gonna be looked at until, we're not gonna accept them until they meet that standard and specification manual, which also includes stormwater as well.
I'm glad we're putting this language in, and I hope we stick to it, because, you know, we got roads all over town that were accepted years ago, or anybody that was here now.
You know, it's funny you said that, Commissioner, because we actually had a conversation on that during some of the downtown conference. To commend our stormwater and public works departments, a large percentage of the stuff they do every day is to fix the old stuff. If you look at Valley Inn, you look at Georgetown, you look at Sheffield Farms, you look at Blackbridge Village, you look at all the new subdivisions that came in since Don Cisco adopted the standards and specs, they're pristine. The ones we're talking about are the older ones. So we're not worried about the new construction. We have to go fix the old stuff. But even when we're looking at the new stuff, we're finding little cracks and little loopholes that developers, and it's not everybody, may try to take advantage of. That's what we're doing here. We already have a pretty strong ordinance, and the standards and specs is amazing. But we do still have these one or two little areas where we're trying to actually make it that much stronger. So we can say that all future development, we're good with that. But we do know that the existing streets and the existing neighborhoods, that's why you see the CIP documents. That's why you see, you know, us trying to get grant funding, stuff like that. And if you notice, most of that is the older stuff that we're trying to retrofit. Like you said, it's basically before any of us came here, but we do have that responsibility.
That's also why we added on page 2 the including but not limited to any and all infrastructure to help cover if for some reason something falls through, then the HOA of that neighborhood is going to be responsible for maintenance of those roads.
And that's key, because if those roads are not done to our standards and we do not accept them, the HOA is on the look for the maintenance of that. And so that does create at least some situations where I don't think it would be fair to the HOAs, but there's language that allows us to at least say that there was a process in place. If the HOA doesn't actually, if you have a neighborhood that doesn't have HOA, And
The town can go after the HOA if they don't maintain, in that kind of situation, if they refuse to maintain the roads.
that would be very difficult.
And
We are,
we're spending money to maintain them roads or make repairs. Is there any recourse that the town can go after the HOA to get our money?
Conceivably, it could be a nuisance.
we are having conversations about, even though you have language here, we're still constantly trying to make it a little stronger. Dan keeps pushing me back a little bit, but we are having those conversations.
That's a simple business. I mean, if they're not gonna follow our rules and they're not gonna build them to our specification, and they expect us to take them in, and then, 5 years down the road, we're out there spending hundreds of thousands of dollars fixing the road that we didn't accept because they didn't build it to our standards. So what recourse do we have to go after our money?
You have bonds, you could do, there's one little small area that this fits in, I don't wanna say that publicly, but we're ultimately trying to not create the deeper circles over. Because 20 years from now, no one knows who built it, no one knows who's responsible for it, things of that nature. So that's what we're trying to clean up here, is one little area, that we're still legally actually talking through, that this covers 99% of everything we're talking about, the change of government. That one little piece you're referring to, which is very, very small portion of things that could happen, we actually are actively talking regularly about that. And we're talking myself, Dan, Public Works, and Stormwater, and Zoning, all at the same time. So what you're talking about, we are actually very actively discussing that. I'm just not ready to disclose that right now. But we are having a conversation.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Lake, go ahead.
when I was in West Virginia, living there, I was an inspector on a job. They were putting alleyways in between the front and back streets, avenues. And they would actually come in with a bore machine and pick different places and bore a hole through the asphalt to see how thick it was.
That is part of the street acceptance process that we currently have in place in terms of the soil makeup and things that make it road.
They found a few places that wasn't thick enough. They had to recap it.
Okay. I will say this, Chancellor's correct. When we were in Tampa this past week, one of the biggest things that folks were looking for, I went down there begging for money. There were other people begging for money too, to fix old, outdated infrastructure, roads, and stormwater pipe. And I mean, so it's not just an issue with us, it's an issue across the country. That years ago, it was, one mayor said, it was a wild, wild west in my town. Developers just built whatever they wanted. There was no oversight, no direction, because the town only had a few folks that worked for the town and they didn't have anything in place. So they just built whatever they wanted on it, and they did it on the cheap because they knew that later on down the road, the town would take it and have to put money into it on the back end. And that's kind of where we are here. I just wanted to kind of throw that out.
Going back to page 9, we still mention more of the town standards and specifications manual. I did cross out town building inspector and put in zoning official shall not issue or approve any additional permits until such time the street acceptance process is completed. And then also added a street shall include all public infrastructure related to street construction located within a public right-of-way, including but not limited to travel lanes, curb and gutter, stormwater infrastructure, and sidewalks, and then continues on with the current language of the ordinance.
In that language, does that include our stormwater administrator to go out and look at this stuff, or is that something Don's doing right now?
I would say they do that in conjunction with each other, but What she just read, we literally added in stormwater infrastructure and sidewalks, things of that nature. So Bev is, they do that in concert. But like I said, we're just finding little areas where we need to strengthen that a little bit and to specifically outline stormwater as a part of the infrastructure process.
I mean, I want people to understand, we're not trying to be hard on developers and stuff like that, but when they come into the town, we want to write that this is gonna save our taxpayers dollars years down the road.
I will say, Commissioner Marley, 90% of mostly all the developers we meet, we don't have a problem with this at all. So I don't think this strengthened language is going to negatively impact development in Hope Mills, because most people are actually adhering to these things anyway. It's just a small percentage of things that we're trying to capture.
And for each development, they do have to go through a stormwater review process that she has to approve.
And Chancellor, I'd like to add in that working in concert happens every Thursday morning
Yes, sir.
during planning review.
So.
Except next Thursday.
Right.
Thanksgiving.
When scheduled, Thursday morning and when scheduled, during planning review is when everybody comes together. Okay. Anything else on this one? Okay, move on.
Next page 10 is referencing sidewalks required. For whatever reason, it used to say one side, we added in both sides and removed the last sentence that states streets ending with a cul-de-sac or hammerhead turnaround when less than 500 feet in length are not required to have sidewalks. Sidewalks are also not required around the bulb of cul-de-sac or T-type ending of any hammerhead. We struck all of that out to require sidewalks, period. And then also in section B, changed it to match the standards and specifications manual as well as DOT's manual that states the sidewalks be 60 inches, not 48.
Okay, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
All
I fought for sidewalks on both sides of the street for a number of years. And now we got them. And for some reason they're vanishing. Developers don't think that they have to put them on both sides of the street. I would like to see it continue that way.
Any new development, they are required to do sidewalks.
I'm sorry,
Any new subdivisions, we do require sidewalks.
and we got some people gonna think they have to put them in.
We help correct them. Talking to them. Because we don't approve the plan without the sidewalks.
Planning review, we're coming out of planning review.
Some do argue, but they don't get their plan approved without it.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, moving on.
Page 11, we added in including any group development as defined in this ordinance which falls within 500 feet. This is in reference to the MIA.
Okay.
I apologize, but the language says developer proposes 2 to 20 lots within 500 feet of existing public water and sewer. So I have a problem, I myself have a problem with the number of lots. New code is coming out in the state, the building in fire. 2 or more lots is a major subdivision now, so up to 2 lots after that. You know, in language of minor and major subdivision, anything over 2 lots is a major subdivision, is what I've read coming out of the new code. So I think we're giving a lot of leeway when we say, that's when I read that, they can go up to 20 lots and not have to do anything. Is that the way I'm reading it, or am I wrong?
I would say if you look further down, you have for more than 20 lots of units proposed. This is the existing language we had. The key here was that we didn't have anything in the language that actually talked about multifamily development in the MIA, because on the multifamily development, you're not subdividing the lot at all. You're taking a 20-acre lot and doing an apartment complex. So you don't ever hit the subdivision threshold, because you're not creating 2 or 20 lots. So we have the regulations where it says 2 to 20, and then further down it says 20 or more. So we haven't experienced any issues with subdivisions in general. This issue was a potential developer can take a 20 acre parcel, do an apartment complex, and because he hasn't created a second lot, then he would basically be able to circumvent these regulations. We haven't ran into any issues with the MIA with respect to subdivisions. I would say about 100% of all the land that has been subdivided for subdivisions have come into our MIA.
I just don't want to give loopholes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I understand.
I don't want to create language or approve language that's going to give leeway to somebody to build up to a certain number and fall underneath the radar and not be required to do it, and then it comes back on the town later. So, you know, I'll be hung for this, but, you know, we need to put all this on the developer.
That's correct. I want to make sure we highlight this is just a section that talks about the trigger for annexation. So what this says is if you're in our MIA and you are creating 2 to 20 lots, you have to petition for annexation. If you have 20 or more lots, you have to petition for annexation. Or the blue language says if you're doing a group development, which is apartment complex within a certain area. So we do have, this is just the area that talks about triggering development that has to be annexed in. But like I said, with the 2 to 20 or 20 or more, we haven't had any issues where someone tried to circumvent that. The one loophole we found was lack of language that talked about multifamily development, which are the group developments that we have.
And that's the main reason of why that blue is added into this section.
That's correct.
That's the main strength of that. It's two words in that group, development. All right. Any comments on this one? Any further comments on this one? Okay. Moving on.
Page 12. So this is adding in different references to walking trails and berms for in reference to Parks and Recreation and open space. Struck out a couple of county references, removing the pay a fee in lieu of, to basically taking out the option to developers where they will have to provide open space. And one of the things that you brought up in the special meeting that we had that you wanted us to come back with was a solution in reference to usable open space. I got with our Parks and Recreation Director, Lamarco, and Chancellor, and we all agreed that adding in that the planning staff and the Parks and Recreation Director would have to approve the usable open space. So if that way the Parks and Rec has sign off on this, they will look at it and make sure it is considered usable for Parks and Rec purposes, for recreation purposes, really.
Just an additional set of eyes as oversight.
Right. He would be in the plan review process for subdivisions that would require open space. And I believe I have it, let's see. Yes, I'll go over that on the next page. We have in here usability, maximum 1/2 of required recreation area may be water, but not intended for stormwater detention ponds. There's references that recreation area shall be contiguous. Again, removing the pay and fee as lieu. Be exempt from providing on-site recreation areas when walking trail and or berms are not feasible as determined by the planning director and or the Parks and Recreation Director. So following, it's the same section, so following on the next page, page 13, it also references the contiguous land to the Owners Association unless approved or waived by the Board of Commissioners. So if they want to have that waived, they would have to bring it before the board to request that. And then another couple of things that were added in since we last met on this subject, talking about C, number 3 at the top of page 13. And with, if a, let's see, I'll start again. Shape, the area, not water or wetlands, shall be of such shape and width if a walking trail to be usable as determined by town planning staff and or Parks and Recreation Director. And then also the brand new part that was added at the very bottom, number 2A. And this is kind of referencing back to what I mentioned in the special meeting for mailboxes. I actually met with the attorney for this one. The town of Hope Mills is not responsible for the repair, maintenance, or replacement of the cluster mailboxes that are now required within new subdivisions. And that is a requirement of the United States Postal Service to have cluster mailboxes instead of individual mailboxes in subdivisions. That way, the responsibility of maintenance and repair, replacement of the cluster mailboxes is not on the town.
And that would be on the homeowner or the HOA, or a combination of both, if they have one.
Well, and as far as I can tell, it seems like any subdivision that we get is almost always going to have an HOA.
So the main part of this one is developers cannot pay their way out. That's the main piece, and that was the piece that we really discussed in several meetings, was to strike out that piece, and developers could not just say, look, I'm going to give you $5 and that's it, and it's on you. Okay.
And we're bringing Parks and Rec.
Yep, and any additional oversight as well. Any further comments about page 12 and 13? If not, our last page is next.
This is a totally brand new section being added in, and I will just read it. This is dumpster solid waste collection. All group developments consisting of 3 or more units shall be required to have common areas designated specifically for solid waste collection. Dumpster areas shall be constructed in accordance with the zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance. If individual trash containers are to be used in the area, not in front of any dwelling unit nor in any street right of way, will be designated and maintained by the homeowners association. The homeowners association or its designee shall be responsible for establishing collection schedules and contracts. Requests for exceptions to this section shall submit a waiver request to the authorized town representative. And this is in reference to apartment complexes, townhome subdivision, townhomes, where there might be 3 or more cans per residence, and the town does not pick up for commercial properties, which falls under that.
Very needed paragraph in the ordinance. Very needed to protect the town. Any discussion about the last item? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, wait a minute.
I just wanted to make sure you know what you're approving. I'm requesting to be able to update the zoning subdivision ordinances with these changes. And then what will happen is I will take them before the planning board to get the recommendation, and then bring back the full document to you for approval.
Okay, so all we're approving tonight is.
For me to move forward to take it to before the planning board.
Now I'll make a motion to approve the request, move forward in the process by taking the steps to members of the Montgomery County Joint Planning Board for approval to bring back to the Board of Commissioners for final approval in the form of a public hearing during the regular scheduled meeting.
Okay. All in favor? Any none opposed? Motion carries.
I just want to come back to this.
Wait a minute. Are you voting affirmative or?
I'll vote from.
Okay.
I do want to come back to this.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, it says, tobacco shops and smoke shops shall not be located within 1 mile radius of an existing tobacco store or smoke shop, and shall be located no closer than 1,000 feet from the rest of the thing. What if there's no smoke shop or something a mile away, can a smoke shop or tobacco shop go 1,000 feet from a church and open up?
It would have to be at least 1,000 feet away from the, schools and churches.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, I don't think 1,000 feet is big enough.
Okay, so let's take the mile radius, out and say, is 1,000 feet enough from a church
Or a school.
or school or daycare? 1,000 feet enough.
Ultimately, like I said before, we already had the 1 mile radius in our ordinance long before. The 1,000 feet came from a request from the county for all the municipalities to mirror that language. If you guys wanted to go above and beyond that, that's perfectly within your power. But the 1,000 feet came as a result of us coordinating with the Mayor's Coalition, and we added
It's a minimum.
Yeah.
1,000 feet is the minimum.
From a church, but if there's no mile, if there's not a smoke shop a mile away, can a smoke shop go that 1,000 feet and
Yes,
set up
yes,
on
that's why it
that
says
side?
and. So if you don't have a church within 1,000 feet, you can do it a mile apart. If you don't have a smoke shop within a mile, you can do 1,000 feet. So it's both. But if you only have one or the other, yeah.
Would you like to increase?
I'd like for it to be increased or reworded to say if there is no smoke shop, then somebody can't just go beside a church, school, or whatever, and open up.
That's what it says.
1,000 feet is required
Yeah.
from a school.
So just because there's not a smoke shop within a mile of another one, that does not mean you get to go closer to a school or church than 1,000 feet. You still have to maintain 1,000 feet.
Okay, I don't know that 1,000 feet is, I don't know what the correct feet would be, but a mile is what, 5,280 feet or whatever? From one smoke shop, but if you don't have a smoke shop, 1,000 feet, could we not say a half a mile or something from a church or school or whatever?
Commissioner Squirrel?
Before we do 1,000, what is the current one? What, 500? You know what the current one was?
No, there was no language.
There was no.
That's my point. There was nothing.
Okay.
This is increasing.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
There's language that says that you can have a liquor license within 50 feet, but there was no language at all. We created a mile between smoke shops, and we're adding to that, in addition to not being able to be a mile within each other, you can't be within 1,000 feet of another a school or recreation or things of that nature. There was no language before.
My follow-up question would be, I think we discussed this briefly before. I don't even know if it was, I think it might have been after a meeting or something. Now, is this 1,000 feet, whatever we set it as, regardless, is that counting, like, if we're at a county border and they're at,
My legal interpretation is that we only have the authority within our limits. I cannot say that if you have a perfect storm where you're having a smoke shop at the boundary of Hope Mills limits and there's another smoke shop in the county outside of our limits, I don't think we can apply our overlay to go in between those two, because once you leave outside the Hope Mills limits, that overlay in this language does not apply.
I got you. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, can we ask Mr. Louise what the county's limits are?
It's 1,000, but I do have a question, Mr. Mayor, if I may. Why was the 1,000, how was that threshold of 1,000 feet? How was that established?
The county never actually told us where the 1,000 feet threshold that they came from. They just simply brought it to the Mayor's Coalition and asked all the municipalities to adopt it. I want to commend us that we had the foresight to have the mile radius in place prior to that even coming to us, but we never raised the issue of where the 1,000 feet came. I can't follow up to see if that has been done county-wide, but the request from the county is to adopt 1,000 feet across the entire jurisdiction.
Traditionally,
feet, 1,000 feet, like, the drug-free school zones and stuff, it's been 1,000 feet. So, I mean, I don't know if that's what they considered, but I know drug-free school zones and stuff, it's always 1,000 feet. So they might have just.
That may be
carried that
it,
over to that, yeah.
because it's applying to the schools.
Tom, you know anything to add?
No.
Why
I
don't
was
we
wondering
make
myself.
that make it, they have to be a mile away from the school, the church, just like the other school. Because 1,000 feet is nothing for a child, and you know that the children are getting into them. Because the chief already told us how many of those vape things that they pick up every day. 1,000 feet is nothing for a child to walk from school to a vape shop. Now, a mile might be a little different. I just don't think 1,000 feet is enough. I don't care if the county did.
We do need to be mindful to not zone them out of existence, which would be beyond our zoning capabilities. So we need to make sure it's a regulation that still allows for the use in some locations. We'd have to look very closely at a map to determine if you make it a mile from any school, church, and another shop, are we in essence banning them all together, which would be probably a step too far. So maybe we want to, if it's the board's will, maybe we look at a map and figure out if there's some distance that might work. But 1,000 feet is what everyone else in the county is doing, relatively standard.
Next stand, Commissioner Scroll.
Also, this does not, those who are currently grandfathered in, so we can't, this is only for new development too, so it's not gonna stop anything like, case in point, you got the one right over by Carlene's and the school's still right there. Can't do anything about that because it's grandfathered in.
But you can in new development.
Yeah, all right, new development.
That's what this became to.
I think with, especially with the mile minimum, because how big is our town? 8 miles? 7 miles. So with the amount we have already, I think we're already gonna limit.
Let's not get it more.
Well, I think that's what this limits as, because if you can't have another one within a mile, and we're only 7 miles, that really doesn't limit them anyway.
I was just gonna ask the chief of police a question real quick. Can they sell in vape shops to under 18 year olds?
It's not, I don't think the law is quite up with that yet. Seems to be, but I think they might have just passed that to make sure that it's the same as cigarettes.
So, I do have another question. With the investigation that you all just participated in, Chief, is there some other kind of, and I think when our state delegation was here, they're already working on some other type of legislation and things as it relates to these vape shops. And the other question is, if we zone them out of existence, as Dan said, could they are we open to legal litigation by doing that? Oh.
They're not being zoned out of existence if they're already here. That applies, if the town didn't have any, and you made a regulation that wouldn't allow any, that would be zoning out of existence, but they're here now.
Yeah, but they're
So
already.
it doesn't pertain.
Chief?
So legislation, there are tougher legislation, there's other things that are being
That are
done
coming,
to
yeah.
deal with the issues that we're having with, some of the things.
Correct.
around the way
And we're gonna keep sending undercover officers into all of them, looking to buy, the illegal marijuana products, and then we're gonna seize them and do search warrants and arrest the owners and managers and clerks like we did this last 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so is the will of the board to stay with 1,000 as voted on, or is the will of the board to change to 1,000?
I'm okay with keeping it out.
I just think it needs to be worded. Instead of doing that, and if there are no vape shops, you cannot enforce with them.
I mean, it's already written that way for 1,000 feet.
Just a minute. I think my concern is more so is what's going on. I do have a problem with them being real close to schools and, places of worship, but I think the bigger issue is what is going on, what is being sold in some of these places.
Yeah.
But I don't think necessarily changing it to 2,000 feet is gonna necessarily fix that. So that's why I asked about the police going in, the legislation and the laws making it tougher to do that. I don't think us bumping it up to 2,000 is gonna fix the illegal activity that's going on in some of them. That's what my issue is, and I don't think pushing up 1,000 feet is gonna fix that per se.
I'll say one other thing. I've been in constant contact with the DEA over this. These operations that we did, due to our success that we've done here, they're being expanded throughout North Carolina. So the legislatures are definitely getting behind this and see that it's a problem. And all police departments and sheriff's agencies now are seeing the dangers of this, and they're all jumping on board and doing some kind of things we did. So I think you can see regulation.
I think there's some proposed language in the General Assembly that's going to address it. I've heard bits and pieces. I'm not looking at this across the state, and the General Assembly comes back in session tomorrow.
I think that's gonna help the problem. I don't think adding extra 500 or 1,000 feet, in my opinion, is gonna fix it. I think that is what's gonna fix the issue that we're having. That's just my opinion. I'm okay with keeping it at 1,000.
Just like liquor stores. I mean, you control the activity inside a liquor store. It's the very same thing close to a vape shop. I mean, you got laws, you've got rules, and the business owners have to abide by those, or they'll be closed. It's just that simple.
We see that long as there's tobacco shops, smoke shops are even what there's.
And that goes right back with what Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray talked about. Is that the bigger issue, and she's right, it's not the 1,000 feet, it's the activity going on inside that building. That's where the real issue is. It really is, that's the real issue. But consensus of the board is to leave it. We're gonna move on. All right, we've already voted, so we're moving on to item B. This is it, no more discussion on item A, right?
Thank you.
All right, item B, consideration and approval to amend the bylaws of the Hope Mills Economic Development Committee, and it's under tab 9. And who wants to discuss this one? Will it be you, Chancellor, or?
Mayor, from our understanding, that was to add distinctly Fayetteville to the Economic Development Committee.
Yeah, that's the only addition. When we put together the stakeholders, it was just an oversight that we left out distinctly Fayetteville as a stakeholder to the committee. So we're just adding them, like last meeting, we added a rep from PwC.
Correct.
We're adding another member tonight from distinctly Fayetteville, and I do believe we are complete with all the stakeholders to be a part of the committee.
And I will add that Town Clerk Ashley Wyatt, the application is live on our website.
Which brings me to my next question. Do we have anybody submitted an application?
It just went live today.
Just went live today. And that's for 3 citizens to apply to serve on our newly created Economic Development Committee. And I will tell you that what we're doing, I'm taking away all this thunder from NLC, is that during the mayor's conference, that is probably one of the biggest strengths in municipalities that are growing exponentially like we are. It's the creation of a town or a city or a village economic development committee. We are right on we're going in the right direction of what we're doing. And I'm not saying that. That's a whole bunch of folks that went to NLC saying that.
Make a motion to approve the changes to, the updated changes to Economic Development Committee bylaws.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Move on to new business. We're finally there. Item A, authorizing the town manager to execute the second amendment to the contract between the town of Hope Mills and Waste Management of Carolinas Incorporated. That's under tab 10. I believe this is your show, Don.
The town went to commercial trash service in 2016 rather than our own procurement, waste management, part of the bidding system, and they were found to be the lowest response per bidder. 2021, we did for 2022, we did a 3-year extension to their contract. We're looking at doing another extension. One thing I want to stress to the board, two things, is that one is the level of service we've had with waste management has been exemplary, and everybody worries about cost. And the one thing that we do have in the contract is that all increases in costs that we have are directly tied to the WST. It's the Waste Sewer Trash Index. Similar concept to what everybody's familiar with the CPI. This is a more accurate index for these services in particular. And I've got Ms. Julie Jones is with us with WM, and she's here to answer any questions if you don't mind having.
Questions from the board?
Now I make a motion that we authorize the town manager to execute the second amendment to the contract between the town of Hope Mills and Waste Management of Carolina.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. I will tell you that the comments out here about waste management, myself included, you guys come pick up trash, you're on time, you're there, and the cans are empty, and I think that's the best service that we've got going as far as waste pickup. Now that goes for both of them. It goes for the recyclables, and it goes for the regular trash.
I don't think we can operate fast food ourselves.
Well, we did up until 2016, but now Waste Management has taken that over and clearly proven for a contract extension going forward. I mean, I don't know of any other waste collector service that could do a better job than Waste Management.
We appreciate that, we really do, and it's been our honor. I think Don and I have been working together for right at 7, 8 years at this point. The staff and residents of Hope Mills are wonderful. I talk to residents regularly. I kind of filter things for myself and through the public works department. So it's been our honor. We're very excited.
Our town enjoys the partnership.
But let it not happen and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked for BFI at the stairs cycle for 30 years. So now just obviously,
We do those things, but we're trying to get it.
is that the way our bus stop is?
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second to approve an extension 3-year contract. All in favor? Seeing none approved? Seeing none opposed? Good correction. Yep. Our contract's approved. You get 3 more years.
Fantastic.
You get 3 more after that, hopefully.
That's right. Thank you.
Item B, approval of budget amendment number 14 for $16,975 to cover costs associated with the laptops and vests, funds to be allocated from the drug forfeiture account under tab 11. Chief, you got this one?
Yes, sir. We have to buy some bulletproof vests and laptops for the additional officers that we've hired. And again, it's noteworthy to point out that we're using funds seized from criminal activity to do this. Just like all the equipment we purchased for our crime scene officers that we added, it was all purchased for drug funds too, so it's costing the town zero. It's coming from a proactive police work and proceeds of criminal activity that were awarded by the prosecution.
See there, Chief, crime does pay.
In certain cases.
We have a motion, we approve item B.
Motion to approve.
Three motions. Actually, pick one. But we have one second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Move on to C. Approval of budget amendment number 15 for $40,000 for Parks and Recreation to purchase a new truck cab 12. You got this one, Drew?
Well, Lamarcus not here, so I'll handle it for him. I did the budget amendment. So, Parks and Rec was in need of a new vehicle. The van that they're using to tow the trailer with the, lawn maintenance equipment that Dan's had it. You'll see it on the surplus document coming up soon. But nevertheless, Marco was looking at the cost of a new truck. We actually done a new one, a used one that we bought through Enterprise and saved some money. And he did come up with the revenues. We're busting at the seams for sports programs. So as you can see with the budget amendment, that and the lease of the facility, we underestimated some of the revenues based on the attendance and people using the facility. So we're upping some of his revenues in order to cover costs of this truck.
And he has money in his budget to purchase it.
That's what we're adding to it, yes.
That's the strength of it. Okay. A motion?
Make a motion to approve the budget amendment for number 15, $40,000.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Marco gets
All right, thank you.
Last item under new business is item D, discussion and consideration of recommendations from the Historic Preservation Commission, sign development for phase 1. Yeah, I got to say it, but believe it. Of Heritage Park, recognizing Dixie Yarns and incorporating the gazebo bell into the design of phase 2 of Heritage Park. There's no attachments. The liaison for the HPC is Commissioner Marley, and he will address this issue.
Thank you, Mayor. At the meeting on Wednesday night, they had discussion on the sign for, to be included into the phase 1 of Heritage Park, recognizing Dixie Yarns. They asked to move forward with that. I told them I would bring it to the board for approval, and they also, at a previous meeting, we discussed the bell, and we said we were going to take it to the HPC for their recommendation on what they wanted to see done with the bell. And they would like for the bell to be incorporated into the design phase 2 of Heritage Park. That's what I'm asking the board to approve tonight, those 2 items.
Okay. And you?
Is that a motion? Is that a motion, Mr. Raleigh?
Yeah, I'll make a motion if you'd like me to, go ahead and make a motion, that way if there's any discussion, but I make a motion that, we, move forward the sign development for phase 1 of Heritage Park, recognizing Dixie Yarns. And does that need to be 2 motions, 2 separate motions?
Put them in one.
Okay, and incorporating the gazebo bell into design of phase 2 Heritage Park.
A second.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Yeah, you can put them all in one because it's referencing 2 actions at the same park.
And the HPC, and just to follow up on that, HPC said that they would be glad to work with the market on both of these.
I will add to what Commissioner Marley discussed. I have had a lengthy conversation with Mr. Morrison. Every step of both of these, that he's going to take it through HPC. Not only the language for the Dixie Yard sign, the location of that sign in phase 1, as well as when they start design work for phase 2, the location of the bell. So he did already commit that he will take that through the HPC committee.
So Who's taking the bell down? I don't think it's anybody.
I think what Don was basically saying, if not let someone want to get stung by about 100 hornets, he's gonna wait till it get a little colder. He'll take it down. But there's a huge wasp nest in there now. We're waiting for the weather to cool down before his crew takes it.
Is it infested, Don? What's up there, hornets? There can't be jackets. Both of them sting, and both of them hurt.
You don't know, he's not gonna climb up there and see.
I've been stung by both. Okay. All in favor? I'm just waiting. Okay. See, none opposed. Okay, it's approved.
Really, man, gotta call the numbers.
All right, item 10 is last. It's monthly reports and then reminders. The big reminder on the monthly report is for this week, November 20th, the flyer. This is what we're doing on Wednesday. Heritage Park ribbon cutting ceremony, Wednesday, November 20th, starting at 4 p.m. And this ceremony is rain or shine. And light refreshments will be served. And I encourage everyone that can possibly make this to come. Because it is. It's a long time coming that we cut that ribbon on phase 1 of Heritage Park. So the rest of the reminders are in the packet. The Parents Committee meeting on November 26th. We come back as a board on December 2nd. Christmas at the lake is December 6th. Breakfast with Santa is Saturday, December 7th. Paws and Claws Pet Picture, Saturday, December 7th. Saturday, December 7th is the Christmas Parade of Lights. And then Friday, December 13th is the 55 plus. I wish I was that old. Senior Christmas Luncheon. And that's at the rec center. Okay? Anything else before we adjourn? Okay.
Have you received the dam inspection report yet for this year? All right, and the next one, the Ed Herring Park over on Lexington Drive, do you know when that will be started? Yeah, we're appropriated $35,000, I think, for it, and the neighbors are getting all upset. They said that somebody had set fire and the firemen had to go up there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, who would that go under?
If it's one of our parks, I could talk to LaMarcus Morrison, but I'm not aware of anything related to that, but I'll check with him tomorrow.
Yes, but don't you remember we said have one for the Ed Herring Park over on Lexington Drive? That's where it's at. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how much we set aside.
I thought it was $35,000.
I'll follow up with LaMarcus tomorrow.
Drew, do you remember?
I don't recall. I'd have to look at the budget and see if we did, but I off the top of my head, I don't recall.
I don't know. I remember the discussion, but I don't think it's 35,000.
Give me a second, I'll go grab the budget and look.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that we did.
I'm gonna read something while you're gone, something that was in my red folder from Waste Management that was stuck in here. It says Waste Management will be collecting on regularly scheduled days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, the week of Thanksgiving. So simply put, there'll be no trash collection on Thanksgiving Day, Thursday. Thursday collection will be picked up on Saturday, November 30th. So if that's one of your collection days, just put your can out on Saturday. Waste Management will bring their trucks through and they will empty those cans. Thanks for the reminder, Ashton, but you tucked it in my folder so I could read it out. I thought you were going to get it. And I said, well, you didn't do it, so I'll grab it at the end.
Yeah, there's nothing in the current budget for Heritage Park.
I didn't think.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. It may have been discussed, but nothing was approved.
we may have discussed it, when we discussed all of our parks, but I don't remember setting aside 35,000.
I thought when I was on Parks and Rec committee, and that was a year ago, I know we discussed like removing some of the equipment because it was like a hangout area. And I thought, I know we talked
That's
about.
the discussion I recall.
Okay, that's the only thing that I can recall from.
Well, I know that I brought it up, and we did discuss it, and where somebody said 35,000 we could do the budget, and I thought that it went in there for the replacement of the equipment, then it's all torn down and finish up. But, yeah, I could be wrong.
Well, it'll be a subject of discussion when we kick off our budget workshops the first week of January 2025. Put it on your Christmas list.
I think we may have talked about maybe putting it on the budget or having it as a discussion for next year as putting in some funding with some other things, from what I can recall, and I could be wrong, but I think that's what we were talking about, like moving forward. And I know we've been talking about some of the activity that's been going on at that park for a while, but I thought we talked about doing something with it moving forward, maybe into the budget of this year, but I could be wrong. That's what I think.
I remember you jumped in with that JC.
I did, but I don't remember the 35,000. I know we talked about it. And Drew, do we have that in the CIP?
Again, I have to pull my copy and look.
I mean, our which book? Yeah, AKA CIP.
But we can also talk to Lamarco tomorrow and see if he recalls anything, because I know there was a lot of discussion about redoing the parking lot, that shelter, and several different things, but it might not have been one of the top priorities.
Well, nonetheless, it will hit the list beginning January for next budget year.
Mr. Mayor, I know we're getting several complaints about four-wheelers going through the parking lot and going down the power line. I don't know what we can do for that.
Okay. Before we adjourn, anything else?
Yes, sir. I talked to Lamarco earlier, and I would like for Drew to try to find a way that we can buy a fountain that floats in the lake that runs off of solar. We have don't have to run any electric to it or nothing. I just think it would look nice if people driving by see a fountain with lights on it. If you can look into that, that'd be real nice. I know everybody hasn't paid their taxes yet.
We'll run it by Lamarco.
January 2025. Another item to add to our wish list of discussions for our budget workshops for next year. Everything's doable as long as we can find the funding to do it. That's the key.
In the world.
We gotta go back to Florida and put in wishing.
Well, Commissioner Legg, I will tell you. Here's the takeaway. Number one, identify the need. Number two, identify who benefits from the need. Okay, we can do 1 and 2 easy. Now, number 3 is the hard one. Identify funding sources for the need, to support the need. That's the hard one. That's one of my takeaways from the NLC this past week. You can identify a need, but who benefits from the need? And then how do we fund it? So I'll leave number 3 with you. I mean, it's easy to say, yep, this is it. Oh, got it.
Leave it up to Drew.
Yeah, that's what I do every day.
But we gotta find the money to fund it all. Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? We are adjourned.
26 October.
All
Bye.
We can do that.
Snapchat.